Imagine a medieval city after dark, moonlight glinting off rain-slick cobblestones, the streets deserted, and every door bolted tight. Honest folk are asleep, but a handful of men emerge, moving with grim purpose. These are the Gong farmers, the city's unsung sanitation workers. In a world without plumbing, waste collected in cesspits beneath homes and inns, out of sight but never out of mind. When these pits filled, the stench and risk of disease forced action. Someone had to descend into the darkness and remove the filth, bucket by bucket. Gong farmers, also called nightmen, were essential yet shunned. Their work was dangerous, isolating, and carried a stigma as heavy as the smell. They kept the city livable, but were seen as unclean. This is not a tale of knights and kings, but of survival at society's edge. We'll follow the Gong farmer into the cesspit, exploring the tools, risks, and social costs of this vital reviled trade. Their story is a window into the harsh realities of medieval life. It's a world of shadows, stench, and back-breaking labor. The rhythms of the night dictated their work, and every shift was a gamble with danger. Let's descend into the underbelly of the city, to meet the men who kept it from drowning in its own waste. This is the story of the unseen guardians of the night. To understand the Gong farmer, you must first understand the cesspit, the medieval household's foul core. Everything went in: human waste, scraps, broken items, even lost coins. Overflowing pits threatened public health, spreading disease and contaminating wells. Disputes over leaking privies were common, as neighbors accused each other of fouling land and water. Gong farmers were the solution, working only at night by law to spare the public the sight and smell. Night soil was hauled out of the city to dumps or loaded onto barges. Ironically, this waste became prized fertilizer for farmers outside the city, creating a strange economy of filth. The Gong farmer was the crucial link, transforming urban waste into rural fertility. He harvested the city's effluence, turning it back into life-sustaining food, a vital, if uncelebrated, part of the medieval ecological loop. The Gong farmer's life was lived in darkness, literally and socially. Their work began when the city slept, setting them apart from respectable society. Pay was decent, but the work was irregular and dangerous. Teams of 3 or 4 tackled each cesspit. The whole man descended, while others hauled buckets and managed ropes. The man below faced the worst, immersed in filth, relying on his team for survival. This shared danger forged a tight-knit community, bonded by exclusion and mutual reliance. Families of Gong farmers lived on the city's margins, their children sharing in the stigma. Despite the contempt, they supported each other, united by a job no one else would do. Their world was insular, but it was a lifeline in a society that shunned them. They were brothers in filth, invisible but essential. The city's health depended on their unseen labor. Gong farming demanded more than a strong stomach. It required skill and nerve. The greatest threat was privy damp, toxic gases that could kill in seconds. A candle lowered into the pit was the only warning. If it went out, the air was deadly. The whole man was lowered into sludge, shoveling waste in darkness, surrounded by lethal fumes. Pits could collapse, burying men alive. Every cut risked infection from disease. Drowning was a constant danger if a man slipped or fainted. The team above had to be quick and coordinated. One mistake could be fatal. This was specialized, hazardous work, learned through grim experience. Every night was a test of judgment and teamwork. Survival depended on skill, caution, and trust. The dangers of Gong farming extended beyond the physical. Socially, they were pariahs, believed to be perpetually unclean, shunned in markets and barred from churches. Their families shared the stigma, living in the poorest quarters alongside other unclean trades. The job was often hereditary, as few other paths were open to their children. Sometimes it was forced labor for the desperate or disgraced. Society saw them as tainted, their work a mark of shame. Yet they were essential to public health, a paradox that deepened their isolation. The psychological toll was immense, indispensable, yet despised. Their endurance was a quiet act of resilience in the face of universal rejection. Most Gong farmers are lost to history, but a few names survive, like Richard the Raker. In 1326, Richard entered a cesspit in London and was overcome by deadly gas, drowning in the filth. The coroner's report was brief: death by misadventure, a known risk of the job, no compensation, no safety reforms, just another casualty of a necessary trade. Richard's story stands for countless others who died unseen, their labor forgotten. The law acknowledged their deaths, but accepted them as inevitable. The pit had to be emptied, another man would take his place. These stories remind us that behind the statistics were real people, risking everything for their families. Richard's lonely death is a testament to the daily dangers faced by Gong farmers. His name, preserved by chance, speaks for all those lost to the darkness. The Gong farmers' tools were simple but vital: buckets, ropes, shovels, and lanterns. Buckets and ropes had to be sturdy. A frayed rope could mean death. The whole man used a short-handled shovel to scoop sludge in cramped darkness. Lanterns provided just enough light and served as gas detectors. The cart loaded with barrels of night soil was their calling card, rumbling through the city at night. Every tool was caked in filth, cleaned only to be dirtied again. Their equipment was a lifeline, and its maintenance was a matter of survival. The humble candle, in particular, was their only shield against invisible death. The Gong farmers' world may seem distant, but their story is timeless. It's about resilience, enduring danger, hardship, and contempt to keep the city alive. Their labor, though reviled, was essential. Without it, cities would have drowned in disease. Their story challenges us to value the unseen work that sustains society. The evolution of sanitation owes much to their grim nightly toil. By remembering them, we honor the dignity of all who do society's dirty work. The Gong farmer, once a figure of shadow and filth, teaches us about the true meaning of essential labor. Their legacy is a reminder: every society depends on its unseen guardians.